Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Be Fierce and Try podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bartholomew, and head coach at Be Fierce Multisport. And I'm here again with recurring guest Troy Theodosiou. In case you haven't met him before, Troy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Troy, and I'm a certified Ironman coach, and I talk all things life and triathlon with Jill.
Yeah, which is why we get along so well, because we just talk forever about all things triathlon and life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we continue, I just want to put a plug in. My company, Be Fierce Multisport, just started a new program. It's available to the public starting by the time this podcast gets published. We are now doing online virtual group cycling, which I think is a really fantastic way for us to still get our miles in during the winter. And you can still get your Zwifting in or your Rouvy or whatever. But there's nothing quite like getting on and doing a group ride on a Saturday morning with a bunch of friends. So if you're interested, that's at cycling.befiercemultisport.com. So I think our topic today is we are going to be talking about next year and how do you select the right race or races to get on the calendar for you. And I think it's really timely. I don't know about you, Troy, but I'm on social media a lot.
hmm
I post a lot and I consume far too much of it. And, I was thinking, I'm like, I see a lot of other coaches who are posting like different metrics about different races, all in like, 30 seconds at a time. I saw one the other day who listed out all the North American races and he tried to delineate them from easiest to hardest. And I sort of mostly agreed with what he said, but I saw three others just like it from other coaches with who all had different opinions. So let's start with like, what do you think the hardest North America race is for Ironman branded full distance?
Lake Placid.
Lake Placid. I'd agree with you. Uh, I've seen Kona listed as North American, which I don't think is fair because it's not really North American, but it is US.
Yeah, I would disagree because that's a you have to qualify, right? So I kind of feel like
Right.
that would be a separate
Right,
almost in
right.
its own category.
Yeah, you can't just, I mean, I suppose you can, but you can't just decide, oh, hey, I'm going to go race Kona. I suppose you can. There's a limited number of Ironman Foundation slots you could pay for, but aside from that, you have to qualify for it. And
Exactly.
we've talked about the qualification process on this podcast a few times. Okay, so Lake Placid, I agree. What was it last year? Like 7,500 feet of climbing,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, I did Marbella, which you surprised me. Showing up. I'm at Marbella with my husband, and I was at check-in or something, walking around, and I start getting texts from Troy. Oddly and eerily specific text. And in my head, I didn't think too much of it because I'm like, oh, Troy must know the area. And I mean, he obviously sees all the posts on social because it's like blowing up with triathletes. And then I turned around and there's Troy.
Yeah, you actually saw me before I saw you, which kind of spoiled the surprise. But yeah, I heard my name and I turned around and it was like, yeah, it is me. It's not my clone. It's not my double.
Well, yeah, it was very high pitched too. Sorry.
It was awesome. It was a fantastic weekend. It was really good to be there.
Yeah, that was my first time getting to spectate an Ironman branded race or any 70.3 or longer distance, really. Because with the men and women being the same weekend but separated on different days, I got to spectate the men's race. And like, that was pretty cool.
I
And it
felt
was,
like yeah, I felt like we did our own race, just trying to get shots of you, and logistically, it was quite a challenging course if you were spectating, trying to get from one
oh,
vantage point to the next.
it
W-
was, it
We
was.
divided. We had to divide and conquer, and I think John and I did a fantastic job.
Oh, yes, yes, you two were clearly coordinated. I think between the two of you, I saw both of you in combination probably about 30 times throughout the race.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right. So you're more familiar with the European, the non-American races than I am. Um, with your former role at Ironman, what would you say the hardest course in Europe is?
Nice.
Non-world championship course.
Well, I mean, Nice is still classified as it's going to be a non-world championship course.
For the 70.3.
Correct. And for the full, Lanzarote.
Okay. So
undoubtedly, I say that without a shadow of a doubt.
okay, because you sounded like there might have been a little bit of hesitation,
I was thinking, and I was like, you know what?
a little bit of processing going on.
Yeah, I just want to do. There's a couple. There's a couple challenging ones, but undoubtedly, I don't think you can compare any of them to Lanzarote. If I'm honest,
I've heard that. The one I want to do is like I loved Nice when I did that a couple years ago. I loved Nice. I do want to do the 70.3 there. So I still need to qualify, but I'm expecting to go to the World Championship there. That should be fun. But I want to do the one at Hamburg.
oh yeah, I think with your bike split, I think that'll. I know why you want to do it now. Yeah,
Yeah,
well
yeah,
played.
yeah. I like it. It speaks to my strengths.
Yeah,
Kona did too, right? I did well at Kona on the bike,
phenomenal.
and I was like this close to being sub 5 on the bike. I wanted a 450 on the bike, and I was like 11 minutes off. It was close.
Do you know what's crazy about that is you know exactly what you need to do to achieve that.
But yeah, well, and I think and part of it's equipment too. Is
That's what I was referencing. Yeah,
I outrode the equipment that I
correct.
came with, and like the bike was fine, but the gearing was wrong.
And evidently, we spoke about that before you left.
We did well, and what's funny is like I ended up, John after I rode the course the first time on the 48, I ended up having John bring the 50 with him when he flew out there. Now I need to find a 52, which is like finding a needle in a haystack lately. Like finding anything SRAM over 50 is really difficult these days. It's
Jill,
weird.
that shouldn't be a problem considering the fact you're about to open a bike shop.
I know. But
exciting times.
The distributors don't want to talk to you until you're actually open. It's weird. Imagine that. So, but I think, the reason why I wanted to start off with this conversation is it talks about like the things that we talk to our athletes about when we, help them choose the race is like, well, what are you looking for? What's your goal? At least that's how I start the conversation out with. It's like, what's your goal is, and everybody has different goals. It might be to finish. It might be to finish with a certain time. It might be to do something else, right? I know I certainly have some athletes who just enjoy touring the country and doing races as they go around the country.
It's so good. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think your why or your goal is where your race selection needs to start. And once you've got that down, the rest will follow.
Yeah, because like if your goal is to make it to World Championship in Kona, for example, you and your coach hopefully might sit back and take a good look at like your strengths and your weaknesses and try to find a course that maximizes your strengths and minimizes your weakness, right? Like if swimming is your weakness, well, a course like Chattanooga that's downriver might be better than say like Florida, which is in the ocean, right? And if you're really exceptional on the bike and really good at hill climbing, then maybe Lake Placid is the right one for you, because like that's the pointy end of the pack is all gonna be people like you, and the guys that can just pedal, they're gonna be further back than say on like, I don't know, Jacksonville this year. It looks like it's pancake flat.
It is. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm planning on doing Jacksonville because it's pancake flat. I'm like, it's just a really long time travel.
Well, it's again depending on how you frame that race and what you're using it for and what you endeavor to achieve. It doesn't necessarily have to be an A race.
Right. And that's a good point is, we only have so much capacity to train and be at our peak, right? And if you have the right training plan, you're hitting your peak at or right before your race. right? You don't want to be training, but your peak is like actually a month after the race, for example.
You raised such a good point, Jill, because I think more often than not, people negate their life season over their fitness, and I think it's a mistake. And I think when you have a conversation with your coach, and if you don't have a coach, that needs to be front and center when it comes to picking your races.
Yeah. And, picking, choosing like I like to race a lot. I know a lot of other athletes that, just like to race a lot.
No kidding.
I don't know what you're talking about. But like not every race is an A race, right? Some are races that, you might do as training for another race. Like, I know a number of people use Happy Valley as, kind of a pre-race for Lake Placid because elevation per loop is pretty similar. Toughness is pretty similar. The run, pretty similar difficulty because like both of them are pretty hilly and have a decent amount of elevation. And, both are lake swims, although I actually think Happy Valley as a whole is harder than Lake Placid. For a single loop at Lake Placid versus Happy Valley, I think Happy Valley's harder, personally.
I launched that race, Jill. Happy Valley. I know that race. Penn State. Oh man, it brings back some fond memories.
Yeah, the challenge you guys, the Ironman has now is, this is year 4, right? In the first 2 years, it's going to be a lot of Penn Staters who do it because it's at Penn State.
Alumni, pro athlete Jason West is alumni from Penn State.
Yeah, and I did it both because I went to Penn State and because it's 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
3 hours.
It's local.
Yeah. That one, Jones Beach and Eagleman are all within 3 hours for me.
You raised another good point. Proximity, travel, logistics. These are all part of the considerations that fall into your race selection.
Right. And it directly affects like the cost, right? Ironman branded races are not cheap. And like this conversation is pretty specific to Ironman, but we could apply it to like road running, cycling, any other sport really has the same considerations. Is like the race entry fee itself can get really expensive. And like since COVID, even like neighborhood runs have gotten expensive. The cost of everything has gone up, including the cost of getting the timing guys to show up and getting police officers to show up, in the places that you need roads closed and blocked, and everything is getting more expensive. And that's reflected in the race registrations, right? So where you can save, if you can't save on the race registration, you can save on hotels if you're local. So I'm thinking about maybe doing Ironman, the 70.3 Eagleman this year, because it's like 65 minutes from my house. I could potentially, although I probably wouldn't, I could potentially not get a hotel, but I'd probably stay down there for like 2 days.
Yeah, there's a number of things that there's the controllables and there's the uncontrollables. And when it comes to arriving at a race and trying to eradicate some of those stresses with regards to the logistics, even if the race is local, you and I both know you want to be as composed and relaxed as you possibly can be without worrying about those logistical nightmares that could derail months of training.
Yeah, and I kind of gotten in the habit of, for a 70.3, I'll show up on like, if the race is on Saturday, I'll show up on like Tuesday night. It gives you time to acclimate and, to kind of relax and enjoy the environment instead of showing up on Friday morning racing to get, your packet and your bike checked in and everything else.
And there's a lot of people that do that. I mean,
yeah,
I can tell you firsthand how many people wing it, and it's very apparent because running around like a headless chicken, trying to figure everything out, haven't taken the time to. You don't know where reg is, you don't know where packet pickup is. It's messy.
Honest, I'm thinking about doing Chattanooga for the 4th or 5th time this year. And if I do that, I might be one of those people who's like showing up on Thursday for the Saturday race.
That's
But
kind of different though, because you've
I've
been
done it
there.
several times.
That's what I was going to say. Is this, you know it like the back of your hand. I think that's slightly different, where you are hyper familiar with the surroundings, and from a logistical standpoint, Chattanooga is probably one of the
It's
easiest
pretty easy.
on the
Things in
circuit.
Yeah, everything's in one spot.
And walking distance, I mean, you pretty much.
But yeah, we always stay at a hotel that's, like 3, 4, 5 blocks from the start, and the hotels there aren't that bad, and there's a lot of them. Okay, so we got, set your goals, and, like, when you're assessing your goals, I would suggest looking at, one is, like, what's your overarching why for doing the race? Cross the finish line, podium, certain time, see the sights, from your bike, whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? And there are people who do that, right? It's like they see the country 112-mile race at a time.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation not too long ago with an athlete who said that next season was going to be to refocus on rediscovering joy. And I really applauded her attitude, because she's like, I've raced my heart out for so many years that I want to find the joy in racing again. And that to me was like really sobering. It was really good to hear that, because so often a race is always based on a performance metric. And she's saying, I've got no pressure. I'm going to enjoy myself again. And I was like, wow, that's awesome.
I love that, right? And if you're not having fun, as age groupers, let's face it, we're not getting paid to do this. We're doing it because we love it and we want to. And I if you lose joy, then people tend to stop doing it. And we want to continue to grow the sport. So, find your joy. And then, look at the course profiles. I mean, they're all on Ironman.com. And there's other sites out there that have comparisons. I'm a TriDot coach, and this isn't a plug for TriDot, but their RaceX tool has all the Ironman courses in it, and they classify and rank, the difficulty scores for each, which is pretty interesting. They used to demo it when they were an Ironman sponsor. They used to demo that at all the Ironman Village, and you could see like, okay, well, if you were a turtle, you'd expect to have a finish time around this. I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. Is all right. So I'm prepared for a difficulty of X. Some courses are harder. I mean, it's an Ironman; they're not easy, but some are harder than others. Like objectively, some are, and you see it in the finish times, right? I think Oceanside finish times are California, sorry, finish times are like 2 hours faster than Lake Placid finish times on average. It's a significant difference. And Cozumel and Florida are the same way.
Yeah. And California is far more first timer friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing. Like, pick it if it's your first time. There's the big bad ones that everybody knows about, but find one that's like more first timer friendly. The logistics. Does it have a split transition or is it one transition? I actually personally love the split transitions. I find the courses to be more interesting than when it's a single transition, because by definition you're doing a loop, right? But logistically, they're much more challenging.
Especially if you've got spectators.
Especially, well,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a number of events that come to mind that I'm super familiar with
Well, I
regards
mean,
to
no,
those splits.
it's a good consideration. If you have family traveling with you,
Especially young ones, little
they're
ones.
right. They're going to need to navigate through all those things. And I do think, like, on race day, the athlete is working hard. Like, you have trained for 6+ months for most of us for that race, and you are letting loose, but you signed up for it. Your family didn't. And they're there to support you. And if, like, Happy Valley, you remember the first year getting people from swim start to, I don't know, the run course, that was the one you were thinking about. I know it was.
Yeah, I'm no comment.
I mean, It took hours for those buses to get out there because the way they had it set up, the buses couldn't leave until all the bikes were out of the park
Correct.
where the swim was.
Yeah.
They've since changed that. It's much more spectator friendly than it had been. But
those, unfortunately, are some of the nuances with the new event. Figuring out some of those logistical headaches is part and parcel of a new race.
Yeah, that's why Jacksonville's on my list. I want to do it this year, but I'm also like, maybe I should wait till next year and do it next year.
Yeah, you can be one of the founders, or you can wait for them to iron out some of the kinks.
Right. Of course, in the act of ironing out kinks, often they produce new kinks. So
always, that's live events for you.
It's the push and pull.
You know what's super interesting about the fact that we talk about spectators who are a large part of our day. I've spectated, you spectated, but you've also had...
My husband claims to be a pro spectator.
Absolutely. And for a lot of people, that's the case. But you know what, Jill? Every time I've had people supporting me, as hard as I'm racing, I'm always mindful of them with regards to where they're at. Is everything okay? Like, I'm yet to meet somebody that goes, it's all about me and I could care less. I haven't met that person.
No,
I
haven't either.
But
that's one of the things I love with this sport is it I think attracts more friendly people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of a community than other sports I've been in.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, it's got its clicks. Right.
Sure.
But it's
all sports do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So spectator friendly, in a split transition, that can be a challenge. But for the athlete, like it can be a challenge too, like understanding the logistics.
Especially if you're newer to the sport and you're not super familiar, it can be a little overwhelming. But for the most part,
at Marbella, I was setting my bike up in the morning of the race, and in the world championship races, and when you have a split transition, there's no, and I think actually in all Ironman at this point, full distance, you're not setting anything up at your bike. Everything for the race is in your bag, which is on a rack somewhere. And this poor girl, she obviously had never done one at this level before. That morning, she started to set up like a little transition area next to her bike. And volunteer immediately came over and was like, no, you can't do that. Didn't you check in your bags yesterday? And she's like, what are you talking about?
Oh dear.
So her bag, none of her bags were checked in. Her special, I guess there's no special needs bag for that. But, the bike bag, the run bag weren't checked in, which we all had to do the day before.
Yeah.
Now, how you missed that, I don't know. It's in the athlete guide. They mentioned it several times ad nauseum at the athlete briefings. But yet here we are, this girl who was setting up a transition area in a pro race, which you don't do.
I was going to say that's more, you'll find that more at local events, sprint distance, Olympic distance, that's sort of the norm. But obviously,
well, even
a world championship's going to...
70.3s.
For sure. I was going to say, unless, I'm not sure how she got there. It's a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, that's the question. Is like, okay, how did you not know about this? But you got there, and if you're not, if you're not expecting it, and maybe not paying close enough attention, you might miss some stuff like that. So like the logistics can be different, and if you qualify for world championships, the logistics are kind of next level.
I was going to say that is an entirely different level for sure.
Yeah, but once you've done one, like you kind of get it. Although the logistics,
says Jill, who's done 3.
Although the logistics of getting to the wherever the welcome banquet is, and the finisher banquet, Kona is easy, right? It's at the hotel next to the start line.
Yeah,
but both Marbella and Nice were like a half-hour drive away from that like Ironman Village area.
And that goes hand in hand with the logistics that we spoke about.
Yeah, we ended up.
You have.
Yeah. Although it was funny, we rode at Marbella, we were on the VIP bus and the VIP bus got lost.
Oh dear.
Yeah. It ended up driving through like some dirt parking lot and having to make a U-turn. Yeah.
As long as
It
you
was,
got there.
oh, we did. We got there. The food was,
You just went the long way.
we did. We took the scenic route. So anyways, yeah. So deciding what race to do. I think I get a lot of my athletes doing mostly East Coast races and like time of year too. You know, if you're qualifying or trying to use it as a qualifier for world championships, you know, if you raced world championships last year, you have a pretty short window to re-qualify for next year because those fall races all happen during world championship season. So that takes out like half the races. But if you're not going to world championship, there's a whole host of races that are available to you. Right? I haven't done Wisconsin because of the timing, but I kind of want to.
Again, being hyper familiar with the circuit and the races in North America, Wisconsin is one of the only event weekends where you can potentially do a 70.3 and a full on the same weekend.
And now you see why I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know the guy who came up with that challenge.
Do you? Do you know him well?
I know him very well.
Very well.
Very well. Yeah.
Am I looking at him by chance?
You are indeed. The cowbell. Yeah. A special trophy. Yeah. You get that award for doing something pretty special. And there's a number of people that have done it several times. In actual fact, 2 years ago, I had a gentleman who podiumed in both races in his age group.
Dang.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. Very special athlete who crushed the 70.3. And at one point in the full distance, the very next day, he was leading the race.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Pretty special guy.
So yeah, but I mean, you know me, I do dopey every year. So like, you know, a triathlon, back to back 70.3 and full kind of sounds like fun in a sick and twisted kind of way.
I mean, Jill, I wouldn't put it past you, my dear.
Nor should you, because I'm going to do it at some point.
Verona is something special. That bike course gives you like Tour de France vibes. The road is crowded with people. It's really special. And then, yeah, it's a special race. It's challenging. I'll tell you that much. You want to give Lake Placid a good ride for the money. Wisconsin is pretty comparable. Pretty comparable, if you ask me.
I've heard. And so let's talk about flat courses. A lot of first-time athletes that I've had, and you see it on the forums on like Facebook, Reddit, whatever, a lot. People selecting a flatter course as their first one, expecting it to be somehow easier than a hilly course that they perceive as harder. And I think it depends on who you are. Like, do you like time trials? Flat time trials? Because if it is, 70.3 is basically two time trials back to back, right? But it's flat. So you never get a chance to stop pedaling.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the difference between looking at the race on paper, v actually doing it and participating, and that there's a significant difference. And I think that's why it's kind of like, oh shoot, this isn't what I was expecting.
Right. And like, I had an athlete do Eagleman for her first time this year. Unfortunately, I remember watching her, and there's some lessons in here. I remember watching her times as I think I was traveling at the moment. I remember watching her times and thinking that she was moving kind of on the slow side. And it turned out that her front derailleur was broken and she was stuck in the small ring. Yeah. So that kind of sucks. So she was a bit slow on it, but just pedaling the whole time nonstop, right? There is no break on Eagleman. It is flat.
Same with 70.3 Jones Beach.
Yeah. And like, Ironman courses seem to come in two varieties. You have hilly and scenic, and flat and windy.
Yes, I would agree.
Right? Yeah. If it's flat, it's probably windy. If it's scenic, it's probably gonna have a lot of hills in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Texas. I like the Texas bike course a lot,
You want some wind?
but you want some wind,
Yeah.
it's
I'll give
gonna
you
be
some
there.
wind. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess this was the last year for Arizona, but another windy course. Florida, flat and windy. Jacksonville, it's flat. Is it gonna be windy?
Possibly.
I mean, it's Florida, so probably.
Yeah, it seems like the weather's all over the show at the moment.
Right. Oceanside, also flat and windy.
Yeah, I've got a friend in Jacksonville, and I spoke with her this week, and she was saying like she packs for all the seasons because they're getting a little bit of everything, and I was like, wow.
Well, I think that's Florida this time of year. You know, we're getting ready to go down to Dopey the first weekend in January. And last year, it rained for 2 of the races,
Remember that?
right? Kind of sideways raining for one of
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
And the year before that, we froze to death. The year before that, we baked. The year before that, they shortened the course because it was on the marathon because it was so hot. So, like, yeah, you have to pack for all seasons because it might be in the 80s the week or even the day before, and then in the 30s on the day of the race.
There's a good learning there, my dear, because that is, again,
Yeah.
picking your race, make the gear, making sure that you've got the right gear. That's also a huge part of your race selection is, time of year,
Wait, it,
conditions.
it's also, yeah, time of year. And like, let's talk about water temperature.
Mm,
I do not like cold water. I'm just going to put that out there. I do not like swimming in cold water.
neither do I.
And I said that to someone recently, and I was like, because I felt the water temperature at Marbella was really cold for me, and it did warm up a bit, but like that first swim out there, I just froze.
You don't swim
And
faster?
huh?
You don't swim faster when it's colder? I
No.
do. I want to get out. I want to get out faster.
Well, yeah, there's that. But anyways, and this lady says to me, she's like, because the water temperature there was what 63 or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, that's perfect." She's like, "You don't even need a wetsuit for that." And I'm sitting there going back and forth. I'm like, "Huh, should I wear a skull cap?"
I kid you not. In Marbella, there were folks swimming that were at the beach, and they were just in some trunks, and I was like, wow,
I know. I
brave.
know.
They were just
Well,
locals.
we're gonna say well acclimated.
I was gonna say they had to have been local because it was.
It had to have been,
Yeah,
or not. I don't know.
they were little kiddos running into the water, and I was like, wow, they are a lot braver than me.
Well, it's like if the idea of doing the what is it, 7 bridges swim in the Hudson in November is attractive to you, then maybe pick a swim that's always wetsuit legal.
Yeah, Oceanside. I was gonna say Oceanside's right up your street if that's the case.
Yes. Cozumel, not as much.
No, what's another real cold one?
I mean, Arizona was.
I was gonna say Arizona was.
But there's not another edition of that race.
No, that has been sunsetted. That is, another one of my races.
Wales is usually pretty cold too, isn't it?
I was going to say there's some cold ones overseas for sure.
And where like most people seem to be looking for ones that are on the warmer side but still wetsuit legal.
Once upon a time, you could swim in Alaska.
I heard it didn't go so well too.
Yeah,
that's why they don't do it anymore.
But it's an interesting topic with regards to water temperature and how that affects a lot of people because why? Wetsuits. And for a lot of people that is a security blanket.
Right. And it theoretically makes you faster.
Buoyancy as well.
Right. But if you don't like the cold, then it's probably not going to make you faster because you're more focused on not getting hypothermic. Yeah, I did see some reports after Nice that some of the men this year were getting blue in the water, some of the older men, because it was not wetsuit legal, but it was pretty close.
Jeff mentioned to us that he was one of those men.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Jeff.
Daryl on our podcast after the
Oh,
World Champs.
yes, that Jeff. I was gonna say, there's a lot of Jeffs in our life.
No, that one. The one we chatted to post the World Champs.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then there's the logistics of getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever traveled with a bike before?
Yes.
Well, I know you and I have, but
Sorry.
that's the question that people should be asking. It's like, have I ever traveled with a bike before? Because if you need to get on a plane to get there, that presents you with some new challenges because you need to get your bike onto the plane, or you need to rent a bike where you're going to. I was actually talking to an athlete this morning. He's doing a race in Europe, and he did one last year, and he flew with his bike, and he was so stressed out about the bike and the flight that he's like, you know what? I'm just going to rent this time. He's like solid middle of the pack. He's in the like, I'm doing it because it's fun, man kind of
Okay.
crowd.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, renting a bike is perfect for you.
I've never done that, if I'm honest. I've never rented a bike and raced.
You know, I haven't either, but I know a lot of people who have, and I've yet to hear someone say they made the wrong choice.
That's an interesting one. I would really like to hear the feedback on that, because I don't think I'm brave enough to do that, just because I'm
right. But like showing up, I mean, the bike shop in Kona was renting Speed Concepts.
I was going to say you might end up renting a better bike, but for me, it's just like I know my equipment, and I'm very pedantic, so I prefer to know I'm riding my trusty steed.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like if you spent a lot of time getting your bike like really dialed in for you,
Mm-hmm.
and if you've put a lot of money and effort into non-OEM parts, like a new cockpit, for example, then maybe renting's not for you. But if you're like a middle or backpacker and you don't care and you're just there to have a good time and to finish, then maybe it's perfect for you. And it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. But it's cheaper than buying a bike box, Alan, or yeah, probably about the same price as if you were to go out and buy one of the soft-sided cases.
Yeah, again, then your bike, again, it's not like they're handled with care.
Interesting. Yes, I know. Well, it's funny, so I was talking to someone I know who works for an airline, because, in the post Marbella kind of gong show that was everyone getting their bikes back. You're like, well, why is it that people were having such a hard time that British Airways had to fly a cargo plane over to pick up all the bikes and bring them back to Heathrow?
Mm-hmm.
And, part of the obviously there was just a high volume, right? But with the bike, it seemed, at least in Philadelphia, that more people were with bike boxes were getting their bikes than people with the soft-sided. And the answer I got was, well, because with the soft-sided cases, they have to sit on top of all the luggage, where like the hard-sided ones are just treated as an oversized piece of luggage.
Interesting.
And I'm like, okay, that kind of made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so like it's just another bag. It's just a big bag versus like something that has a Fragile sign on it and has to be put on top of, on top of all the other bags. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But and I did see after Marbella a raging, and I do use the word raging, debate in one of the Facebook groups on hard-sided versus soft-sided cases.
Yeah.
I have opinions.
I was going to say, you've traveled enough to know what you need to do to protect your bike.
Traveling the first time with it is super, I mean, still,
It's cumbersome.
I've traveled dozens of times with my bike, and still, every single time, I find it stressful until the bike is back in my hands on the other side.
For sure.
And by the way, I never leave the baggage area without opening the box and making sure it's okay.
So I'm gonna put something in front of you, and I think you'll agree. There's one train of thought where the one option is very easy to pack. There's not a lot of deconstruction, super easy to reassemble without being like too technically inclined.
with the
So
soft-sided bags.
correct.
Yeah.
And so people tend to go that route. And then there's people like yourself that are very familiar with your bike and your setup, and just more inclined to want to work on your bike yourself. And so for you, it's not even it's really no big deal. And you've got the added protection, but it is cumbersome. It is heavy. It's not easy to get
Well,
around.
that's a consideration, is if you are traveling with a bike and you're not renting it, and we didn't talk about having it shipped, which is another option.
Directly to the event.
Yeah, so we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a second. Um,
Okay.
so if it's coming on the plane with you, you need a way of getting it from the airport to your hotel.
Yeah, you're not renting a compact
You are
unless you're
not.
the unless you're the only one in the vehicle.
That's right. Although in Marbella, I did get it into I got bike box and 3 suitcases and 2 adult human beings into a BMW, was it X2? Like their small SUV.
Somebody was sitting literally on the driver's seat. The driver's sitting on the.
No, we had tons of room because one of us is really amazing at the Tetris game.
Yeah, I'm 6'3". That's not happening if I was in that
All
vehicle.
right. Well, I'm 5'9" and a half, 3/4, and my husband is shorter than me, so we don't have that 6'3" problem you
I
have.
was gonna say that, and a bike box would never. Yeah.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't say that it would be comfortable for anybody else.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine bike box strapped to the roof?
Right. I did see something that was smart. Is like, in that particular race, there was a number. It wasn't uncommon for both spouse, husband, and wife to be racing, or
Yes.
for small groups traveling to be racing. That they rented like like 12-person vans and the little
Yes.
cargo vans, which like in the US is kind of hard to rent. And we noticed that there, like, it was actually pretty easy to rent, like the 9 and 12-person vans. I was like, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And it
I mean,
didn't
if
cost
it's
any more.
yeah, I was gonna say if it's me, a caravan or a minivan is great because you can
Yeah,
just put the bike in the back.
when we go to Florida, well, when we travel in the US, we usually get like a mid-size or large SUV.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
could like a Mercedes, a Sprinter van. Those are always like super nice.
Yeah, you can get that. We've done when it's just one bike. You couldn't get away with like more than one bike, but we've done um had Jeeps and RAV4. We've had CRVs. We've had minivans. Minivans you could get a couple in. Yeah, and I always like it when you get there, when you reserve like a small SUV and you get to the airport and they upgrade you to a full size.
You get an upgrade.
That's like score.
Yeah, or you book the vehicle and it ends up being a lot smaller than you had hoped for.
Well, that's what happened with the one in Marbella. Is I was thinking like X5 size,
Okay.
which would be fine.
Yeah.
And then I got it and I'm like, this is a little tight. We're gonna make it work. And we
I
did.
I ended up getting a European. I got a Peugeot. I was in a Peugeot SUV, which was way more than I needed. I got this upgrade, and I
Really?
did not need it. I was traveling on my own, so I didn't need that vehicle, but had all
Yeah,
the bells and whistles.
I did find it interesting. I don't rent overseas very often. Usually when I travel overseas, I just rely on taxis and Ubers. But this time I'm like, you know,
It was a drive.
it was.
Yeah.
And we had to do it several times because my bike didn't make it to Barmea with me.
No.
I mean, I got there later the same day. It was on the next flight, but it didn't make it with me. And so we had to drive back to the airport,
Hmm.
which is an hour away.
I was going to
But
say.
but like, it comes back to, you got to think like, how are you getting your bike there? And we didn't talk about, and there's hard side versus soft side, you know, discussions, which I do think at this point are somewhat religious debates. There are a lot of people who swear by their soft sided cases and won't give them up. And then there's others who are like, why would you do that? But I will say airlines in general will not insure your bike if it's in a soft-sided case.
Mm-hmm.
If anything happens to it and it's not in a hard-sided case, the airline is going to tell you to have a nice day, at least most American airlines. The other way, which remember tri-bike transport, it kind of went away in a rather profound and immediate way that stranded thousands of athletes without their bikes on their way back from, was it Cozumel they were on their way back from? It was Kona. I knew it was right around the same time. That's right, because there were some athletes who had to rent bikes at Cozumel because their bikes from Kona were being held literally being held hostage in containers somewhere over the Pacific. Yeah, Ironman ended up bailing them out. There's a new company, I forget what they call themselves, that I've seen at races this year that are kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and then obviously there's shipping companies, bike specific, like bike flights they specifically only ship bikes around the world.
Right. And for both of those, like the downside is, I mean, they're both expensive. So like honestly, they cost about the same as buying a bike box. And part of that is because you need to bring your bike to an LBS to have it taken apart. And then usually they put it back together for you at the other end and then kind of reverse, coming home. I know people who've used those services and they love them. Right. Not for me, but I know people who use them and they love them. But it takes a long time too. I talked to one person going to Kona who used it, and they had to check their bike in like a month before they got there.
Yeah, and when you should still be, then you don't have access to your bike, so that changes the
Meanwhile,
game.
I was training on my bike until the day before I got on the plane.
Yeah, so that's a really a great point that you make. But don't fear, because like I said, Jill is going to have a bike shop sooner rather than later. She probably will sell bike boxes and
We actually rent them now.
rent them. Okay.
We actually, so I like Bike Box Allen. I do. I use one for my own. You'll know mine from the other ones because it's all covered in race stickers.
I do. I know it well. I've done
Hey,
very well.
I have another one that if I can figure out how to get the race stickers off of my red one and onto my pink one, then, and it should surprise no one that is pink.
You're going to need a heat gun. Yeah. And you're going to need to be patient and very delicate.
So all qualities that I like.
Give it to John. Let John or the kids get at it.
Yeah, so it would have to be Addison because Ashton has a lot of the same personality traits I do.
Yeah, he just knows how to go fast.
Yes, go fast. Ask questions later. Well, I mean, I grew up on the ice, so like our motto is go fast, turn left.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how to turn right, but we knew how to turn left really well.
As far as your husband and your Sherpa goes, he does some pretty awesome things for you. So if I was going to put my money on anybody, it would be him.
Yeah, yep. I agree.
Just saying. He climbed a lot of stairs on race day.
Well, I mean, he needed the workout. And I know that he listens to every single one of these because he tells me how many ads get inserted by the ad network.
Wow. Okay. Well, at least Troy's given him a couple shout outs.
Yes, he will appreciate that.
He's got his back.
But, as Troy mentioned, we are opening a bike shop. We are located in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, just about almost to the edge with Lancaster County in Chester Springs. So if you're listening from that area, the Be Fierce Multisport Bike Shop, which we still need to come up with a name for. So if anyone wants to submit name ideas that are on brand, I'm all ears because, we're starting to form partnerships. And right now the name is Be Fierce Multisport TBD.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, until we have to make the sign to put on the building, it can be whatever we want it to be.
There you go.
Right. But we are actively looking for investors to help get the store off it, up and running, and, corporate partnerships as well are always welcome. So if you're listening and you want to join in on the fun, let me know. info@befiercemultisports.com.
That's awesome.
All right. So moving on. Right. So I'm a big fan of the bike box, but you do need a bigger car on the other end. But in the US, Uber XL is pretty consistent in being able to move at least one bike box. And I think I've only once had them show up with a car too small, and it didn't cost me anything. The driver just canceled the ride, and it got reassigned to someone. As frustrating as it might be by the extra 7-minute wait at the time, it's not a big deal. And taxis, they're still driving Crown Vics in most places.
True story.
They can fit like 4 bike boxes in the back and have room for luggage.
I was going to say, absolutely.
Those things are deceptively humongous.
They are. Good grief. And they're like tanks.
Yeah, and they're like 12 body trunks.
Love how you said that. Rather you than me.
I am. Okay. So now you've narrowed it down. So you took a look at what your goals are. You took a look at what you want to accomplish, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You looked at the bike courses, the run courses, and the swim courses. You're a weak swimmer. You selected a course with a downriver swim like Chattanooga or Louisville, and then you have a strong bike, so you're like, I want hills, and you're incapable of running uphill, so you chose a flat run course, right? I'm exaggerating, of course, because nobody, I think, is only one of those. We're all kind of some combination. But I'm a big fan of getting in on the Flex 90 program. It's like you never know what's going to come up. I have had to this year. I think I had 2 races that I deferred.
Let's segue into that, because that I was saving that. That's an really important point that you just mentioned, and that is giving yourself the space to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was your season, just with regards to injury. I mean, it's been that way before, but giving yourself the space to adapt and recover. Jill, let's touch on that, because I think that's a massive one.
Well, it is. So and you and I were talking before we started recording about some people that we both know who have had kind of sequences of injuries. It happens, and you look even at the elites, right? Like Lucy Charles Barkley, Nice last year. She was in it until the day before, and then she's out of it because she just wasn't feeling it. She was still working down an injury, and she made the probably very intelligent decision and probably very well-informed decision that racing it would do more harm than good. As age groupers, we find it really, really hard, I think, to make that decision because you put so much training into it, and these are not cheap races. But most of them you can defer. It's not always free, so that helps with the pain. I think most 70.3s you can defer to a same year race. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not hyper familiar on the deferrals, and athlete services they more specifically deal with that, just with regards to what you can and you can't do. And again, it's very dependent on rhyme or reason. I mean, if you're physically injured and can't race, and you have a medical certificate and what have you, the athlete services are normally very accommodating.
Yeah, I've had good experiences with that in the past. Of Jones Beach, I was planning to race 2 years ago, and then qualified for a Nice, and I sent them the note. I'm like, hey, I qualified for Nice. I'm not going to race Jones Beach, and they let me defer to Haines City, which I raced Haines City last year. I thought that was great. It was very accommodating. And by the letter, they probably didn't have to do that because it wasn't an injury. But and I think the more advance notice you give, the better. But if you're injured, take care of the injury, because racing on an injury is not going to make the injury better.
No, it's just going to set you back even further.
And those listening who know me are laughing because I did 2 marathons on a broken leg.
I tried to say that with a straight face, and then you went and said that. But I'm glad you called yourself out. Yeah,
I know exactly who I am and what I've done and what I'll do again. But I didn't know it was broken. All I knew is I had pain behind the knee, and it was misdiagnosed as an IT band issue. And it wasn't until after the second marathon when I'm like, 3 months have gone by and it's not getting better. And I was in rough shape at the end of that second one. And then they did the MRI of the full leg, and they're like, oh, hey, ma'am, yeah, your femur is 90% broken through. cracked, I guess the one doctor called it. So, had I known,
You were broken. Call it what you like.
had I known it was busted, I wouldn't have run on it, but I didn't know. And
Hold
that's
on.
like,
Was that honest? Had I known, you still. There's a good chance you still would have run.
well, I mean,
I would have walked on it.
it's not about me. It's
Okay.
about our advice.
Our community. There you go.
Yes. We can give better advice than we sometimes are emotionally able to follow ourselves. Yes.
I always tell people what I would love to tell myself and actually implement, for sure.
Yes. Do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But
I'm getting better at that. I am. I really am.
I was gonna say, as I get older, I'm finding it easier to make that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where like, when you're younger, it's like no, next year is so far away.
Also, because people are watching, actions speak louder than words. Sometimes it's more important to take it on the chin and do what's best for your body.
It is. Yeah, like I said, this year I deferred 270.3s, Happy Valley and Haines City, because this hamstring thing, even though it was in a spot where like it's unlikely that anything I was doing was going to make it worse. It was painful. And we were trying to get as much downtime as we could in between the races I was doing, right?
Which wasn't a whole lot.
Did you say that with a straight face?
I did. I think I did. I don't know.
You tried.
I try. I'm just thinking about the transition between world champs. I mean, it was turn and burn.
It's funny. Up until the start line for Marbella, because they were turn and burn for the women. The men had like almost a month longer.
Correct.
But if you did Kona and Marbella, which a lot of people did, you really only had 2 weeks in between.
I was surprised how many people had done both, like yourself. It was pretty overwhelming. I was quite shocked.
Yeah, I was surprised at the number too. But it forces you to show up at that second race and really think like, what's my goals for this race? Because having 2 world championships, two long distance races, period.
For sure. Yeah.
That are that close and that far away. Right? Because they're not close enough that they're both A races. And they're not far enough apart that they're both A races. So you have to stop and think, what are they? And I remember stepping up to the start line at Marbella saying, I'm going to crush the bike. I'm going to have fun in the swim, and I'm going to see the sights on the run.
I know. And you did just that.
And I did.
It was awesome. And you know what? I mentioned about finding joy, and let me tell you, that was so evident on the run. The smile, just your body language, as well as just our engagement and interactions along that run course, you could tell that you were enjoying yourself. And gosh, does that make a difference?
I mean, I did enjoy twisting my ankle going up the bridge, but yes, no, I enjoyed that race.
Well, you've got a high pain threshold, my dear, so that wasn't evident. Well, I tell you what, you've done childbirth, you've done Ironman, you've done.
I think so. I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
You hope so. I'm reminding you that you have, just in case you had forgotten.
So now we've talked about all the selection criteria and considerations for your next race.
I really think we have. I think the only thing that...
What is your next race?
That's a good question. I just wanted to say something that I think is really important that you and I both take quite seriously, just from a coaching standpoint, is there's methodology to building rhythm, your base, your build, and your peak. And we sort of touched on it. But again, it needs to be harmonious. And I think, Jill, you practice that and preach that as a coach.
Thank you. I try. But I do race a lot. But coming back to the start, I was talking to my coach, and the feedback I got when I sent the literal spreadsheet of all the races I'm currently signed up for, not including the races I plan to sign up for.
So there's a difference. Yeah.
Well,
sounds about right.
That aren't open yet. No, I did include all of them. And the feedback was like, can you race less? And my response was, No, but we will choose which ones I'm racing and which ones are used as part of my training plan.
Well said. Yeah.
So like Princess race, it's foot race down at Disney in mid-February. It's 5K, 10K, half marathon. Most of my half marathons, and everybody listening is laughing like, haha, it's a Disney race. I have two halves to my soul. There's triathlon and there's Run Disney. Those are my
And Run Disney was way before triathlon.
Run Disney for me was way before triathlon. Triathlon definitely existed before Run Disney did, though. But most of my PR halves are actually on that race. The Princess one in February. It's like the temperatures are cool but not cold. It is a flat but not flat course. Like it's not so flat that it's painfully flat. But in the 13.1 miles, there's only about 200 feet of rise. So it's pretty flat. And that's, let's be honest, that's all overpasses, right? But if I'm doing Texas, that is just the right distance to have from Texas to have a solid, half marathon distance training run, right?
Yeah, I think, again, like I'm touching on the finding your joy. And I think, Jill, that brings you so much joy and passion because of the community, the people that you do it with. I think that is a huge overarching reason behind your why for doing that. And it's not a case of, hey, like obviously you're competitive by nature. Like let's call a spade. Jill, by the same token, there's a huge, I got to meet some of your wonderful friends who partake in that with you. And it's just like, Run Disney for you is so much more than it is about the running. It's more about the community and the friendships that you formed over the years.
Absolutely.
And that it's so important
so
though. Yeah.
Yeah, that like I don't necessarily subscribe to this, but it is one of those things where you do get maybe 5-10% of the runners there are serious runners, and you get a healthy percentage are say amateur runners, and then a very healthy percentage are maybe doing the distance for their first time.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you look online, the number of people who are like, UPR and fun at Run Disney. I'm like, I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but a lot of people do because it's fun. You get to run through the parks and it's magical. And every mile is not magic, but some are.
Yeah. I love that.
So you're avoiding the question, what's your next race?
Chattanooga.
Is Chattanooga.
70.3, and the reason I say Chattanooga is just because it's local, it's down the road. I love Chattanooga. I love the community support. I love the logistic side. It's very spectator friendly, ample accommodation. It's a drive away, so it checks all the boxes that we discussed, and sort of like the important points when it comes to race selection. Those, yeah, it's a great race.
So my prediction for that race is I'm going to be out of the water before you. I'm going to be off the bike before you, but you're going to finish before me.
Oh man, I got a lot of work to do for sure. But again, with the right training and the right preparation, that'll certainly be an A race.
I love that bike course. That is my PR bike course by a decent amount. And this is something that we underestimate. I rage cycled that bike. Did I tell you that?
Was that the year you dropped your chain?
No, that was last year. So Chattanooga this year, swim was canceled.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Swim is canceled. And so time trials start. I love time trials. So you tell me it's a time trial. I'm like, game on, man. And then it's like my coach told me it was going to take me 3 hours to do the bike.
Challenge accepted.
I had never done the bike in 3 hours, even with a dropped chain. Challenge accepted. I rode 60 points above my 60 watts above my FTP that day.
I love that.
For the 2 hours that it took me to do the bike. So I rage cycled because I was so mad that my coach underestimated me by so much.
Oh, that'll get you going.
Oh yeah, it sure did. And then the whole concept of don't overbike because your run will suck. Like, you know what? The first K of the run definitely sucked.
Can't tell you how many times I've said that to you. You stole those words out of my mouth because every time we talk before a race, I'm like, Jill, I know what you're gonna do.
But you see, on that one, my race strategy was I'm going to prove him wrong on the bike and screw the run. If I have to crawl, I will still get it done before the cutoff.
And she will. And she will.
And it was like 4 hours and some change total, right? So it wasn't bad. It got me to no, I mean, I don't necessarily recommend that you go out and rage cycle. But on that day, it worked really well for me.
I was going to say, it really changes the game when you drop a discipline and all of a sudden now you've only got two.
Well, it does. It
It
does.
really does.
Yeah.
Psychologically and physically.
Yeah, and that's that race seems to have a higher than average probability of the swim getting canceled.
Because of the water, yeah.
I mean, it's actually because of Joe Wilson, let's be honest.
Joe's probably going to listen to this.
I hope Joe listens to it. In fact, I might put this on as the social media clip.
Oh man, the number of people, the uproar when Joe does his posts, and I mean,
It cracks me up.
it causes pandemonium.
I know. At this point, he's known as the swim is canceled guy.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Didn't he sell T-shirts that said the swim is canceled?
I think he did.
I think he did.
Yeah.
But no, like, it changes the game. And like, if it's your first time doing one, like, I'm sorry, it sucks for your first time. But once you've done a few, it adds a little bit of something new into the game. And it's like, if you look at, like in Chatty 70.3 this year, swim was canceled. If you look at the finish order for the pros, it's totally different than otherwise it would have been.
There were a couple of shocks and surprises, right?
Well, there were pros in the top 5 that normally are in the bottom 5.
Correct.
And it just changes everything so much because
of the swim. The swim has such an influence.
But it's not just because of the swim time, it's also what the swim takes out of you. It's like one, you're lining up for a bike ride that you're cold because you didn't have that. Well, it's a 70.3. So you didn't have call it 18 to 40, 50, 60, 70 minutes to warm up in the water for your bike. You're starting cold. But you also don't have the caloric drain that 18 to 70 minutes stole from you, which, I capitalized on that day.
Yeah, it'll significantly change the game.
It will. And it changes who's out front. And although I did find I was at the first 20 miles on the bike, my quads were like, we're not supposed to be doing this so soon.
On fire. Yeah, I bet.
Yes, they were, but they were working hard. But they were on fire. So what other races are you doing this year? Do you have any other ones? Anything local?
Yeah, I'll probably do a bunch of local races for sure. I always do. I love grassroots events. I love partaking in the local races. It's a huge part of the community, so that's always a go-to for me.
Local races are where it's at. The branded races are fun, and they're like the big daddy races, but the local races are where the fun is at.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And every year, I always focus heavily on local races.
Yeah, I don't race as many local races as I used to, but I do show up to spectate. Although I was bummed this year with the timing of the 10X on the hamstring versus the Philly Marathon. It was the weekend before, so I didn't get to run the Philly Marathon. But I was there with my pink bullhorn, cheering everyone on.
I was going to say the weather wasn't ideal, was it? No.
Oh, the weather was perfect. Are you kidding?
It was?
It was 38 degrees and slightly drizzly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
For Philadelphia Marathon weekend, that is about as good as it gets. Because you know what? It wasn't cold and it wasn't windy.
Okay.
And it wasn't rainy. It was a little bit of drizzly at the beginning, and it dried up right around the time that the start gun went off.
Okay. Good deal.
So it was for me, shorts and a tank top run weather which you would immediately freeze your butt off. So I hope that everyone who ran in shorts and a tank top, which was most people, that they also brought a sweatpants and a jacket.
I was going to say, it's amazing what you see on social media because it paints a picture. I tell you what.
Yeah. But you saw, I posted like the video and you see everybody kind of
Yeah, but
going down.
yeah, but you weren't running. Like it changes when you're on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I usually do the Patriot Challenge at Philly. So I do Dopey in January every year. It's in 3 weeks from now, I think, 4 weeks. This will be my 6th or 7th time doing Dopey. I love it, right? 48.6 miles over 4 days. It's great. Philadelphia Marathon weekend being 6 weeks before that. It's always the weekend before Thanksgiving. And I'm putting my plug in for Philly because Philly's great. It is the perfect training race, the perfect simulation for Dopey because it is on Saturday, a half marathon at 8 a.m., an 8K at 11 a.m., and then a marathon the next day. And if you like big medals, the Patriot Challenge medal it's like the largest medal I've ever had. It's ginormous.
Wow. I did not
And
know
it's
that.
Philly. What's Philly known for? And I'm not talking food and cheesesteaks. The Liberty Bell.
Okay.
Right? So all of our medals have a working bell. So when you hear the runners who have finished walking down the road, all you hear is the clangs of everyone's medals.
That's neat.
It's really cool. So like you definitely should go and run Philly. It's cool, but it's not cold usually. 2 years ago, maybe it's 3 years ago, it was cold. It was freezing and it was windy and it was horrible. But it's the winter. It happens. But usually it's nice.
I plan on doing more running races.
Yeah.
In honor of you.
In honor of me. I'm not dead yet.
No, well, the fact that you do as much running as you do and triathlon, I think I'm going to endeavor to be a little more active. I've normally done here and there, but never planned. Just more like
the irony is
ad hoc.
I'm a terrible runner. Like I'm a really solid cyclist. I'm an okay swimmer and I'm a terrible runner. But I was a runner before I was a cyclist and a swimmer.
And how do you become a better runner? There we go.
I have an excuse. But so this year, you will find me at all of the East Coast Run Disney races. Why not also the West Coast ones, you'll ask? Well, because I was in Brussels when the signups were and wasn't watching my email, and I missed the sign-up link for the Disneyland half, which really bums me out because the Coast to Coast medal for 2026 is the best Coast to Coast medal they've ever had. It's really cool. So I'm not going to be able to get that one. And I've been unable to secure a charity bib. I tried and they're like, no, we can get you into the 10K. I'm like, I don't want to do the 10K. I'm like, I'll do the half or Dumbo.
Now you're being picky.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, you have to run to get the coast to coast. You have to run at least a half marathon or a challenge on both coasts. So the 10K doesn't count.
One trip you do to Brussels and you miss the reg.
Hey, I got paid to go to Brussels. So yeah.
I know. I'm awestruck because I did not know that this had happened.
Yeah, because
be very quiet about it.
Well, yeah. So I'm in Club Run Disney. I'm a charter member of that because, because I have that, I don't have to sit and stress over race registration. And the irony is, if you miss the link when it's sent out or forget about it, that you still have to do general registration, except if you forget about it all in entirety, then you're kind of SOL. So Greg, if you're listening, yeah, I did it too. It's not just you. Yeah. All right. So I'll be at all the Run Disney races this year: Ironman Texas, Jacksonville, and Lake Placid, and hopefully Kona if I qualify.
There you go.
And we'll see on the 70.3. I'm thinking Chattanooga, and I have not done Eaglemen. I have athletes who have. I've not done it. I was thinking about doing Eaglemen. Might do Happy Valley, but Eaglemen is the same weekend.
That's a solid race season.
I know, right?
And she's going to sprinkle in a couple others along the way. I know it.
Well, so I was going to do the Philly Love Run. It's a great season opener in Philly. It's cold. It's usually a chilly race, but not like super cold. It's like it's the end of March. It's like March 29th or something. But Philly, the Tried Out Pool School is coming to Philadelphia again.
Oh, okay.
And I am a Tried Out Pool School coach, and I was just up in Boston last weekend with pool school. And this weekend, or that same weekend as Philly Love Run, Tried Out Pool School is coming back to Philly, and so I will be there instead of running.
That's a tough one. That's
I
bittersweet.
know, make money or spend money.
Mm.
But no, I actually really love the way they do the pool school. It's like whether or not you like Tried Out doesn't matter. I think pool school is a really solid program.
It is.
I have seen in my lanes and other lanes, I've seen like really exceptional improvements in what, if you think about it, is a very short period of time.
Unbelievable.
I
Yeah,
don't want this
it's
to turn into an ad for Tried Out or pool school. Like this past weekend, I had one athlete in my lane who had a 72nd per 100 yard improvement. That is amazing. And
yeah.
it's because you
In
spend
48
2 days.
hours.
Yes. Well, it's actually 8 hours, right? But yeah, in 2 days. But it's because we focus entirely on body position and what we want you to do, instead of telling you all the things that you're doing wrong and the micro corrections. It's like starting from zero. Like, here's the body position. Let's practice the body position. And then here's the steps of the stroke. Let's practice each step on its own. And then let's pull it all together. And it works.
It does.
So anyways, I'll be there again. So if you're in the Philly area or feel like flying to Philly the last weekend in March, Tried Out Pool School. Should sign up. I might be your lane lead. I might not be.
But you'll be there.
But I'll be there and you'll get something out of it, I'm positive. On that note, I think we covered a lot of ground today.
I think we
Thank you,
did.
Troy. I am standing between you and a long bike ride on what you claim to be a beautiful day in Tennessee.
It is. Yeah. Best of the week.
Best of the week. See, I have athletes in Nashville who are telling me that the weather is abysmal there this week.
It has been. It has been. But it ain't today.
All right. All right. Well, on that note, thank you, Troy. As
Thank you.
always, I love having you on.
I love
And
being
thank
here.
you to our listeners. I hope that this was valuable to you. If you don't already, please subscribe to our podcast. And if you're on Spotify, Apple, or wherever, feel free to like it, comment on it. And if you have any questions or ideas for new episodes, feel free to drop me a line, info@befiercemultisport.com.
Happy holidays.